The time is never right to attempt migration by sea. To those who risk their lives doing so, this risk is not worth taking. Allow me to be clear. If you take to the sea, you will not come to the United States. Any migrant intercepted at sea, regardless of their nationality, will not be permitted to enter the United States. Again, I repeat, do not risk your life attempting to enter the United States illegally.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas had a strong choice of words to those who seek refuge fleeing Cuba and Haiti, refusing their attempt at illegally entering the U.S. Both countries have witnessed extreme turmoil over the last week, leaving Cuban and Haitian residents feeling their only choice is to escape in many cases. The left continues to face scrutiny for their initial silence on the protests that have erupted in Cuba. Big-time names such as AOC and other members of the squad are still missing in action. Host of the Rob Smith is Problematic podcast and contributor here at The First TV, Rob Smith, joins us now. Rob, thanks so much, man.
Absolutely.
First off, the Democrats talk a big game about asylum and about how we're a country, a nation of immigrants when it comes to Central Americans flooding across the U.S.-Mexico border illegally to the tune of hundreds of thousands, perhaps over 1 million this year. In Cuba, you have actual government violence and repression underway right now, and people who would flee that if they could. But that's not asylum that we should be in favor of? What's going on, Rob?
Well, what's going on right now is that the refugees and the people that will be fleeing Cuba, that will be coming here from Cuba, that are escaping communism and that authoritarianism, aren't the types of immigrants and refugees that the left want. They want all of these people coming from our southern border because these are the people that they feel are most likely to be pretty solidly Democratic voters. These are the people that they will remember when all of these people were running for president in 2019 and 2020. They said, we will give free healthcare, free college, free this, free that. So the immigrants that they want are the ones coming from Mexico. They do not want the immigrants, and they do not want to give asylum to the ones coming from Cuba, because those people are fleeing communism, and those people are going to come up here and basically spread the anti-communism gospel because they have seen all of this stuff that's coming from our left before, and they are fleeing from it. So the left wants the immigrants and the asylum people and the asylum seekers coming from Mexico, not coming from Cuba.
And where does Haiti fit into this? I mean, one would think that Democrats, based on their usual identity politics and the way that they view people coming from the rest of the world, particularly the developing world, as something legally or illegally, they like people to arrive on our shores. Not a big outreach from Democrats about it. In fact, they're saying, the DHS chief is saying, don't come here from Haiti either, even though there's substantial. They just had an assassination of the president, for heaven's sakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing, but, they do not want these people as much as they want to keep on flooding our country with illegal immigrants that are coming from the southern border. And so it's very interesting. What's going on in Cuba right now is completely fascinating. Now, this is a place that has been under communist rule since the 50s. They just elected their first president that did not have the last name Castro, and this was a communist as well. So this is something that is very prescient to exactly what is being pushed by the left over here. I talk about this on the latest episode of my podcast, Rob Smith Problematic, that there is a connection between the communism that they are fleeing in Cuba and the socialism that is being pushed by our American left here. But when it comes to Haiti, those refugees are not fitting into that neat box that the left wants. They do not know if these people from Haiti and or Cuba are going to be solidly Democratic voters. Therefore, they do not care.
Rob, it seems pretty clear at this point that some of the most usually vocal, particularly on social media, members of Congress on the left, Democrats, certainly don't have a lot to say in terms of anger at the Cuban regime. There may be some, tepid support for the right of protesters to peacefully have their voices heard or something, but not a whole lot of the communist regime is a bunch of thugs who are kidnapping, torturing, murdering people. What's that all about?
Well, the thing about it is that they don't want to. You look, they call themselves democratic socialists, and they want to present this rosy view of socialism, which is basically communism. And they don't want to connect themselves too closely to the unrest that's going on in Cuba right now. The world is watching this. The world is watching people protesting medical shortages. The world is watching people protesting food shortages. The world is seeing exactly what happens under a communist regime. And AOC and the squad and Jamal Bowman and the rest of them do not want to connect themselves to what is going on in Cuba because they know, look, the American people are not stupid. The American people are actually smarter than a lot of people on the left give them credit for. And they know that if they start speaking up about what is going on in Cuba, people are going to do their research and they're going to find out that a lot of this stuff that they're pushing, AOC, Jamal Bowman, the squad, all of that stuff sounds a lot like what was being pushed in Cuba decades ago, and has brought them to the level of chaos that we're seeing right now. And then, the holy grail of the squad leader, Bernie Sanders, right? So Bernie Sanders is on record as saying, well, yeah, some of the stuff that was under communism wasn't that bad. He is on record as saying this stuff. And they will be silent about this as long as possible. Of course, they'll get a pass from the mainstream media and a pass from the left because they know that if they speak up about this, the people that they are pushing these socialist lies to are going to connect what they are saying to exactly what is happening in Cuba right now, and they do not want that.
Bernie Sanders honeymooned in Moscow when it was the Soviet Union, Rob, which I think is part of the broader realization that a lot of people are having right now that there is a real sympathy, even a fondness maybe, or a soft spot that the American Democrat Party has for not just communism in general, but specifically Castro's
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I want to give Democrats a little credit right now. I think that so James Carville just went on one of the networks and he said that they are basically being ruled by the loud, noisy, sort of like 15% of their party. I think that the socialists are a very small part of the left right now, but they have so much power and they make so much noise and they are bullying the rest of these old school Democrats into going in their direction. And I think that that is a mistake. If they allow these people to get this much power, if they allow them to pretty much set the agenda for the left, this is where they're going to head. And people will reject this. The American people see what is going on. They're not taking spin from Jen Psaki. They're not taking spin from the mainstream media. Social media has democratized all of this stuff. And what we're seeing is horrific protests and horrific crackdowns by this communist regime that cannot be hidden or glossed over by AOC, the squad, Bernie Sanders, or anybody in the mainstream media.
Rob, always insightful. Thanks for being with us.
All right, thanks, Bob.